today we are going to learn about 3D modeling techniques and how to make specifically a ball, a slab, and a coil out of Play-Doh or air-dry clay. So you're going to need either Play-Doh or air-dry clay. The color choice does not matter because today is a practice day. So you want to just stick with one color for today. I'm just going to use this orangish red color. You may want to have a pencil as well as something that you can roll out your clay or your dough with. So if you have a Play-Doh roller, get that. If you don't, a marker works just as great. I'm not coloring with the marker, but I'm going to use it as a rolling pin so that I can lay out my stuff. So you're going to open up your Play-Doh, and today is all about experimenting, trying to make these 3 different techniques and perfect them. So I don't want to start with the huge amount of Play-Doh. I'm going to break off a little bit at a time as I'm using it. And the first technique I'm going to show you is how to roll a ball. So you can take a little bit less than this depending on the size of your ball. The amount of clay or Play-Doh that you use is going to determine the size. If I just take this, put this in my hand and kind of start to pinch it into a roundish form, I'm going to use my hand and in a circular motion, I'm going to start rolling the ball around on my hand. I can also roll it on a flat surface like a table. Now, Play-Doh doesn't come together quite as nice as clay does, so if you get little cracks and things with your finger, you can just kind of smooth those over. And then once I've smoothed over those little cracks and things, I just want to make this extra smooth. So I'm just going to do that process again. You can see if I hold it sideways, I'm making small circles with my hands or on the table. And voila, I have a tiny little ball shape. There's lots that you can do with a ball, which we'll talk about in a minute, but I want to go over the next technique. After you've made a ball, the next thing you want to do is learn how to make what's called a slab. Now, a slab, I like to think of as like a pancake. It's a flat piece of clay to work with. So I'm going to take my Play-Doh and I'm going to start with a ball. It's the best thing. So it's a nice even amount. And if you've ever made cookies at home, you've probably done this before too. So you're gonna roll your clay around to get a ball. You're gonna sit it on your table, and then the flat part of your wrist acts almost the best tool that you can have, acts as like a hammer. You're just gonna put that flat part on your wrist and squish this down a little bit, not a lot. I'm gonna pick it up and flip it over so it doesn't stick to the surface that I'm working on. And then I'm gonna get out my handy dandy roller, and I just wanna roll this a little bit thinner. You can see it's still kind of thick. So I'm gonna use my roller, and instead of holding it in my hands, I'm gonna like lay my fingers across the top, and I'm just gonna press gently and roll the roller back and forth. I wanna be careful that I don't go off the edge because then it gets really flat at one end. And occasionally I wanna pick it up and flip it over. So I'm just kind of trying to even out the surface of my Play-Doh a little bit, to make it just a little bit thinner. Every time I'm going to pick it up and flip it so that it doesn't get stuck to the table. So these techniques are the same we'd be using with clay in the classroom. Now once you get it to be the thickness that you want, it's about a 1/4 inch thick, I would say, I can actually use my pencil as a cutting tool to draw some kind of shape or design. So once you have your slab cut out a shape. I'm just going to put a heart. So I'm going to stick my pencil down. You can actually hear it hit the table. And I'm going to use it and drag to cut out the shape of a heart. And then I can pick it up. And voila, look, you can actually see I drew on my table a little bit, not the end of the world. So there's my slab, and I cut a shape out of my slab. I can use my excess clay now to make my 3rd technique, which is called a coil. Some of you might refer to these as little snakes or worms, but they all start out kind of the same. I'm gonna push them together, make kind of a ball. But this time, instead of making it go in a circle when I do this, I'm gonna rock my hands back and forth. And that stretches it out into a long, like worm-like structure. If I lay this on the table and use my 2 fingers, starting at the center and then pull my fingers as I'm rolling out to the side, I can make this coil get really, really long. You want to be careful that you don't keep pushing in the same spot without moving your fingers, because then you can actually take your coil and tear it apart. That's a good trick if you only want a small coil. But let's say my goal is to try to make a long, skinny coil. I'm going to try to do this back and forth, stretching out. Look how long I can make this one little piece of clay. That's pretty cool, huh? The cool thing about a coil is you can actually wrap it up around itself by folding it over and then rolling it around. You can make like a spiral. This is very cool. So you can see there's a cool little spiral. And there's lots of different things that you can do to combine these things together in lots of really fun, different ways, which we will be doing again. But I want you to be practicing all of these clay techniques and then show me your creativity. Can you put the three of these things together to make something new? I don't know, Mrs. Hops is gonna try to do something right now. Let's see if I can start with a really big coil. This is pretty cool. And I'm gonna stretch it out. I'm rolling it. Now I'm gonna make it get even skinnier by rolling it in my fingers. Oh, very cool. And now I'm gonna coil it up. Coil it up, making my cool little spiral. I'm gonna do another coil. I think I'm gonna turn mine into like a little snail. That could be kind of cool. And if I stick this on top of there and use my coil and bend it in a new way, look at how it kind of looks like a snail with a shell. And if I take, oh, I have a tiny coil here, I can make this get even skinnier because I want to make a tiny little one that I can split in half and stick to the top to be like the little snail's antennas. The cool thing about the Play-Doh is it sticks to itself pretty good if you just press and hold. Oh my gosh, look at my cute little creature using two of my techniques, but he doesn't stand very well by himself. So I'm gonna make him something to stand on. So I'm gonna use my slab technique, making a ball, flattening it out, rolling it to be a little bit thicker. And then he has like a little stand, and voila! I made a cute little snail sculpture. How cool is that? I used a slab, I used some coils. I had to make a ball to make both my coils and my slab. So that is a pretty cool thing. What can you make today using a ball, a slab, and a coil?